host, myself. Then we have our speaker, Victoria Shigoli. She's a HR and career management consultant. Then a basic overview of our topic for today, the role of psychometrics in job searching. Psychometrics measures your skill, personality traits, and cognitive abilities, helping individuals identify their strengths, their strengths and weaknesses. These insights allow you as a job seeker to target positions that align with your attributes and leading you to better satisfaction and leading to greater job satisfaction and success. Understanding your strengths and weaknesses through psychometric testing will guide you toward roles that align with your unique attributes for better career outcomes. So that's basically an overview or maybe a breakdown of what you're about to talk about today, of what our speaker, Madam Victoria Shigoli, will be taking us through. Right there you have contact details for JCV. So we'll just maybe go through the same again. Ethnic Soya, that's a media banner for JCVs. Once again, JCVs services offered. And as you can see at your bottom left, you have our contact details. Feel free to reach out to JCVs anytime, whenever. And the services that you will get from JCVs. Now, at this particular point, I'll get straight to our meeting. So before we start our meeting, I will start it off with a word of prayer so that we can officially kick it up. So Jehovah, King of all the glory, give you thanks for this evening. As we have this engagement, give us your, we want to give you thanks for allowing us. Let it be educative and informative, and let it be a session that will guide us towards career success. Be with us this evening and bless it in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. So without much further ado, I want to welcome Madam Vicky Wainaina to take over and take us through the night. So Madam Victoria, kindly. Madam Victoria.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope I am audible.
Very audible.
Very audible. Thank you for the information. Thank you, Jimmy, for the warm welcome. And thank you, everybody, for making the time to be here this evening. I know night times can get quite engaging in our respective homes, but I will do my level best to manage time as best as possible so that we conclude around 9 o'clock. Please pardon me even as we start because I'm having challenges with my Zoom and that's why you cannot see me. But I am here because you know I'm here. You can hear me. But I'll take you through the presentation as best as possible. So once again, to Jay and your team, thank you. Thank you for having me here. My name is Victoria Shigoli, as you've been told. I am an HR and career management consultant, and I have over 20 years of combined industry and consulting experience. So when I say industry and consulting, I mean I have been employed and I've also been a consultant, which combines to about 20 years. My career stems from the US, where I was exposed to psychometric assessments and learned a lot from them. And I brought that knowledge with me, and it's been wonderful, just applying it here in Kenya. I am the proprietor of a company known as Novation Ventures, which is a Kenyan-based company, providing HR and career management services. So we offer two arms of services, one for corporates and one for individuals. For corporates, we have executive recruitment and selection, HR audits, performance management, competency framework development, and learning and development. For individuals, we have CV writing, cover letters, writing, psychometric testing, interview preparation, and career coaching. So our discussion tonight is obviously going to center around psychometric testing. And because this is how it would add value to the job seeking process, it's therefore targeted towards the individual. In terms of my presentation outline, this is how I intend to go through it. I want us to have a shared understanding of what psychometric assessments are. So I'll start by defining them. I'll talk about important aspects when it comes to psychometrics, that's validity and reliability. I will then go through the types of psychometric tests that are out there, and then I will apply them to the job search process. And then we'll look at how they're administered and interpretation. I'll take you through some important test features, and then we will summarize and then just mention October specials as we conclude. So I am watching my time. So allow me then to just get into it. So what are psychometrics? I don't want to assume that we all understand. So for purposes of this presentation, psychometric comes from the Greek word psyche and metron, which means of the mind and measurement. You know, when you hear the word assessment in a Kenyan context, most people tend to think about assessments that would result in passing or failing. But these instruments are not designed to, well, they're those instruments that are not designed to pass or fail you. They're really just instruments to understand your mind and your thought processes and your behaviors in a logical manner that could be understood to help you. Psychometric assessments are objective measurements of personality, motivations, interests, and abilities, just like Jimmy told us. And it's important that you know that these are scientifically designed. And what that means is psychometric tests must be standardized, they must be reliable, and they must be valid, which means that they must be consistent in their content, in their administration, and in their scoring. So this assures that a test is accurate and it is measuring what it is supposed to do. If it is not measuring what it is supposed to do, then it's not a psychometric test. And that leads me to my next slide, where I touch on validity and reliability. So just for your comfort, these are assessments, again, that are standardized questionnaires, and the results must be valid and reliable. So how they arrive at that is that the tests must have gone through a statistical approach and been tested over different populations, tested and retested. So when a test is valid, it means that it is measuring what it's supposed to measure, okay? So it refers to how well an assessment measures the characteristic it has been designed to measure. For example, if a test is designed to measure ambition, how accurately does it do that? So statisticians have to develop that document until it is actually measuring ambition, if that's what it is designed to do. In terms of reliability, it means that the assessment is consistent and stable. It will not give you this result one day and the next day that you use it, it's giving you a different result. So it must be consistent. And this is because it can be used between different individuals. So when it looks at consistency, it is looking at internal consistency and reliability, test and retest reliability. Okay, so in terms of internal consistency, it is designed to capture or to measure similar dimensions across different questions. So for example, if question 2 and question 18 both measure introversion, does the test taker give the same answer to both of them? Because if he or she doesn't, then that should give an indication to the statistician that maybe this instrument is not consistent. And then in terms of testing and retesting, this measures how similar a person's results are when they take a test multiple times. It should give them the same answer. And like I said, this is important because these instruments are sometimes used to test sometimes people belonging to the same group. So for example, you may want to use a test to measure differences in IQ between a group of engineers, and you want to know that the internal consistency is actually quite firm. So moving on, I'm watching my time. It's important to know that psychometric tests generally come in two types, okay? So in terms of personality, what are we talking about? We're talking about a combination of behaviors, emotions, thought patterns, and motivations that define us. So research from the past few decades has pointed to the fact that our personality is shaped by the environment in which we grew up in, and also our genetic composition. So there's a sense of nature and nurture. But this sense of understanding of ourselves in terms of our emotions and thought patterns and behaviors raises our self-awareness and helps us understand how we process information, how we receive it, where we draw our energy, and how, therefore, we interact with other people, whether it's interaction in teams, interactions with people in the same profession. So the important thing to get out of this is that with personality tests, there is no right or wrong answer because there's no right or wrong personality. You may have heard of some very popular instruments, including the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. You may have heard of the Thomas Personality Profile Analysis, the PPA. You may have heard of the Big Five test. These are used to understand personality. So again, there are no right or wrong answers. And therefore, it's important that you answer personality tests accurately and to the best of your ability without trying to misrepresent yourself. The other types of psychometric tests are aptitude tests. These ones are a little different in that they're looking at your mental ability or your cognitive skills. So that will give an indication of how you solve problems, how you handle challenges, how quickly you can think on your feet, how quickly you can see patterns, etc., etc. And these ones will generally measure competence in terms of your verbal reasoning. So you might see a question like, just as an example, butterfly is to caterpillar as toad is to what? You know, or you might be given a comprehension and given a set of questions to answer. But what the person is looking for is your verbal reasoning. Then there are numerical reasoning tests where you're given numbers and charts and bar graphs, and you're supposed to do some computations. And then there's logical reasoning where you have patterns where the tester is looking at your ability to see patterns and complete certain questions. Now, these ones, aptitude tests, tend to have right and wrong answers. And so the aim here is to accurately complete as many as possible. Okay, so just to have it at the back of your mind that there are personality tests and aptitude tests, and those two comprise of, broadly speaking, psychometric tests. So let's bring it home. I hope we now have at least a general understanding of what psychometrics are and the types that are out there, as we look at now the relevance to the job process, which is what this evening is about. And within the application to the job process, I really just want to look at 5 areas. I want to look at identification of career paths. I want to look at clarification of workplace dispositions, how you can apply psychometrics to interview preparation, how you can apply psychometrics to your career development, which then informs your the types of jobs that you look for, and looking at your personality, and therefore, what does that mean in terms of the types of jobs that you should be looking for? So we will start off with identification of career paths. Are we together so far? Is everything okay? Is it clear?
Yeah, very good, Vicky. Very
We're
good.
moving well? Okay.
Yeah, very well.
All right. Thank you. Right. So I wanted to start with career paths because career guidance is an area that has plagued many people in this country. And unfortunately, it's not just a Kenyan phenomena, it's actually a global phenomenon. According to national statistics, over 60% of college and university students change their course of study within their learning program at least 3 times before they graduate. Okay, that's a very high number, which means that clearly many people are groping in the dark. Okay, so clearly it's only a few fortunate people who seem to know what they want to do and what careers they want to pursue from a young age. But for the vast majority, and that was my case, that's why I got exposed to psychometrics in the US. It was not an easy task because the nature of our education system is that it focuses on your academics and forgets that you're a whole person with different interests and motivations and personalities, etc. So upon completion of secondary education, um, many people students join secondary education or colleges and institutes to pursue careers that do not really match their abilities. And so vocational choices are based on hearsay and speculation. It is what your uncle told you, or your best friend, or your mom, whoever has an influence on your life. And what happens is that then ends up in the workplace because at some point you'll finish your coursework and get a job. Now, what happened? What happens is that when these people finally end up at work and they are not doing work that motivates them, productivity and obviously engagement is not at the level where it needs to be. So drawing from research that was done by a psychologist known as John Holland. John Holland was an industrial psychologist who wanted to find out why are some people so motivated at the workplace, um, while others are so demotivated. And you can tell motivated people, they're the ones who they're productive, they're coming up with innovative ideas, they're creative, they're team players, they report to work on time, they work extra hours without being requested to, because they love what it is that they do. And Holland's research led him to find out that when your interest areas align to the work that you engage in, then your motivation levels are high. And the converse is also true. So a whole instrument has been designed around his research that seeks to address these areas of interest. And this instrument is called the career test. And it looks at these 6 different dimensions to measure your motivations and interests, and then gives you suggestions on what careers would be suitable for you. Because the whole idea is that if the work that you're doing aligns and corresponds to what comes naturally to you and what interests you, then your engagement levels increase and your productivity, your creativity, your motivation, etc. Yeah. And what that does then is that it eliminates the wastage of time and cost and lack of direction that pursuing wrong careers does. So that instead of finishing your college program in 3 years or 4 years, you're now spending 6 years because, you found out that you're pursuing a course, but you don't really like it. So psychometrics can really help you in identifying the right career path, which will then link to your job search in terms of helping you only seek work that is aligned to your areas of strengths and interests and therefore motivation. So that is one way, identification of career paths, so that you're looking for the jobs that are right for you. Second way is in terms of the clarification of workplace aspirations and motivations. I want you to imagine for a second that a good friend has shared a job advert with you and recommended you to apply for it. Let's say, for example, Jay sent me an advert and I applied for the job and I joined the organization. And after 6 months of doing the job, I begin to feel, this is not the right job for me. Something doesn't sit right. I begin to feel really like I'm a, what do they call it? A square peg in a round hole. And really begin to ask myself many questions because I responded to a job advert. I went through a rigorous interviewing process. I had the requisite qualifications and the experience that they were looking for. And in fact, I turned out to be the best candidate for this job. And I went through several levels of interviewing. That can be a very nasty feeling to have gone through that entire process and still feel that I'm in the wrong place. So the objective of these instruments, and the particular instrument that I use, is really to help a candidate analyze their core disposition and main professional aspirations. Okay, this is important to do, to investigate before you even begin this job search process. Because what it does is that it prepares them for the future. So rather than relying on advice given to me by my friends about what a good job will be for me, which is like going into the dark blindfolded despite having a torch, this tool will provide my clients with an in-depth analysis of their aspirations and looks at what it is that would help them thrive. Because then what the report does is it gives a report at the end that matches their responses to various positions and then suggests which professions would suit the individual, the test taker. Now, this then is important in the job search process because it helps in the person know their areas of strengths and areas for improvement. And this can contribute, therefore, to add value to the CV, because there are elements of what comes out of this instrument that you can incorporate into the CV and also help the client in terms of the career paths where they can strive. Where they can thrive. So the instrument analyzes the traits that influence the behavior and performance of an individual while they're at work. I'll give you an example because it gives two-dimensional approaches. It may ask you to contrast. Well, it'll give you questions that contrast, for example, an individual's need for supervision as opposed to the need for working independently, or an individual's need for working with facts as opposed to an individual's needs for working with their gut feeling. So it's not right or wrong. It's really just a question of preference. And these are things now you can even discuss during an interview. So it's good to know one's workplace aspirations and motivations because it makes the job search process just that much richer. When you have insight into the way you behave, the way you interact with others, as well as your strengths and potential limitations. The next one is for interview preparation. We all know that psychometrics have now become very, very popular for corporates in the interviewing process. In fact, a study undertaken by Harvard Business Review followed 360,000 people through their sales career to determine what factors made success in the sales position more likely. And the study found that hiring decisions based on experience, age, and technical skills were not enough. The study found that success was attained by matching the candidates' core abilities, their natural talents, and their interests and their personality with the role in the organization. So when this strategy was used, the candidates hiring process improved dramatically, and it also reduced turnover. So what are we saying? In as much as an employer will take you through a face-to-face interview, this will only tell the employer about your experience and your knowledge, where you went to school, academic and professional qualifications. But today's employer want to find out more about your mental abilities, your behaviors, in various situations. And so what I'm saying is, if employers are going to go through that trouble to do more, why should job seekers then not familiarize themselves and prepare themselves adequately for this psychometric test? People who are job searching should not wait to interact with them during an interview, particularly when it comes to aptitude tests, because like I said, aptitude tests like the numerical tests and the verbal, they're really looking at your speed and accuracy. So practicing for speed and accuracy will be very important. Practicing they say practice makes perfect. So that when you're sitting these sorts of tests, you have the confidence, it boosts your confidence, and therefore improving your chances of better performing on these aptitude tests. So practice for speed and accuracy, and that should happen well before the interview. So psychometrics for interview preparation will add a lot of value to the job seeker. Fourthly, I think you can just answer this. You can maybe just unmute yourself and answer. I'm curious because this slide is about career development. In your opinion, whose job is it to grow you professionally? Is it an organization's responsibility or is it an individual's responsibility? I'd just like
I'd say myself, maybe in my perspective, I'd say this personal responsibility, regardless of how many opportunities you have or how many mentors you have or who is willing to hold your hand. I'd say at the end of the day, it's your personal responsibility.
It's your personal responsibility.
So,
I agree with you totally, Jimmy. Indeed, it is your personal responsibility. We'll see at the end of the presentation if there are others who think otherwise. But really, an individual's role in their own career development is based on their desire to grow, So that is what will make you wake up and think about what else you can do to grow yourself and to challenge yourself to seek greater heights. So career development is the process of developing one's career, which includes defining new goals and regularly acquiring skills to achieve them. So there's an instrument that I use that provides a summary of a candidate's strengths and areas for development, and also gives recommendations that will inform your training, your coaching, your developmental areas. But that means that you're the one who is on the driver's seat. So you're the one who is doing the self-evaluation and asking yourself, where am I now? And where do I want to be? And how wide is that gap? And what can I do to close that gap? So career development really is directly linked to the goals and objectives set by you, the individual. It may involve obtaining new skills. It may involve getting more responsibilities. It may take the shape of making a career change. It could mean changing employers or starting your own business, whatever shape and form it takes. So starting with an assessment, a psychometric assessment is a really wonderful place to just get a very objective perspective of where you are now vis-a-vis where you want to be. And of course, now based on that information, to develop a whole career development plan so that you can now, when you start the job search process, it's an informed process. It has you've taken the time to do some self-introspection, some self-evaluation. You're clear on where you want to go. And again, like I said, you're the one who's on the driver's seat. So very good for career development. Great. Next one, the fifth one is related to personality. So psychometrics are also good for understanding your own personality. And like I had said, personality looks at the combination of your behaviors, emotions, your thought patterns, and motivations, and that they're developed through nurture and nature. But these are very good in helping you to identify and gain understanding of how you take information, how you make your decisions, the patterns of perception and judgment. So it's personality assessments are really about elevating your sense of self-awareness, and also appreciating that because all of us have different personalities, other people are different from you, and you're able to appreciate other people around you. And even when you work in teams, you appreciate that people don't always process information the way you do. So it helps you then gain that mutual respect. So understanding your personality then can help you understand what type of work and workplace environment might best fit your personality so that your job search then is more informed. Personality will not restrict the job that you should look for. It will just give you insights into what might work better for you in terms of your type of personality and the kind of workplace environment that might best fit your personality. I'll just give you an example here. I have taken the MBTI, which is a world-renowned personality test, and I was a ESFJ, so extroverted, sensing, feeling, and judging. The J in the ESFJ really indicates a preference for order, for planning, for being organized, etc. So my preference in terms of my work and my approach to my work is to develop a checklist, and I want to cross off my list as I'm working, okay? So it allows me to set my own goals. It allows me to organize my work as I so wish. It allows me to make my own decisions on how I want to approach my work, and I feel better that way. Now, because I'm that kind of a person, I would fit well in a structured environment. But that doesn't mean I can't work in an agile environment where things are moving quickly, changing quickly. You know, I had my list of things to do, but in the middle of the day, I have to change my priorities and do something else that's more urgent than what I was prepared to do for the day. It just means that I have to make certain adjustments, and knowing that then helps me adjust better. So personality assessments cannot make career decisions for you. They can only give you indications of your preferences and help you appreciate people whose preferences are different from yours. So knowing that then, that information about yourself and your personality, then makes the job search process interesting and engaging, particularly during the interviews, because then you can ask questions around the working environment, around the culture, around the pace of work there, around the kind of teams they have. And so that when you're going through this job search process, it's very clear to you. This is the kind of workplace that maybe might be a good match, a good fit, or it may not be a very good fit, and this is where I need to make adjustments. I hope that one is clear. So for example, if one was introverted and therefore the energy sources come from within them, it doesn't mean that they can't pursue jobs that have a strong interpersonal component, such as sales or customer service. It's just important to remember that all personality types make contribution in every career field. So those are the 5 types I wanted to touch on with regards to job searching. This next area is looking at administration and interpretation, because there are key conventions that govern the use of psychometric tests. So as a test taker, it's important, one, to ensure that you know why and how the assessment will be used. So let me just use the MBTI, for example. The MBTI cannot be used for recruitment because it's not looking at your competencies, it's looking at your personality. So make sure as a test taker who is looking for a job, you also take the time to ask questions and to find out how this assessment is going to help you in your job search. And then 2, it is sometimes necessary to take a combination of assessments to obtain a holistic picture. So for example, you may combine a career test and a personality test. A career test because you want to confirm your areas of interest, and a personality because you want to appreciate where you draw your energy sources, so that even as you're going through the job search, you're making informed decisions. And then thirdly, ensure you seek professional services and obtain psychometric services from certified practitioners. Today, there are very many instruments online, and I'd highly doubt that these are all certified. Maybe they can be used for just, practice purposes, but when it comes to actually taking an assessment, please seek the services of people who've been trained on how to administer them and how to interpret them. And then fourthly, use psychometric assessments that have been scientifically validated, which links very closely to the last point about, when I talked about scientific validated, also make sure that you're using instruments that have been certified by professional bodies, such as the British Psychological Council and the American Psychological Association. And then remember that psychometrics are just one part of a holistic evaluation. Give consideration to other trusted sources. So psychometrics can be used as part of an interview process, but they'll not be the only thing that will be used. So maybe you go through an interview process and then you're shortlisted, and then you go through a second interview process, and then psychometrics are administered. So it's not just psychometrics, there are other steps in the interviewing process. Test features. The instruments that I used are designed and oriented towards the workplace and professional development. So they will not use psychological jargon or ask you personal questions regarding your private life. Secondly, they provide you with personalized, comprehensive analysis. So they will show you how you scored in the various attributes that were being measured, and then they will give you your areas of strengths and where you need to improve. And they are also very attractively designed. Thirdly, the test results are administered via an internet connection, so really you can take them from anywhere in the world. And fourthly, the tests have been statistically and scientifically validated. and therefore they are valid and reliable. We discussed validity and reliability. Fifthly, the instruments I use are designed to counter social desirability. And this is where one tries to project themselves better than they really are. These instruments will catch that you're trying to conceal your true self. And therefore, based on that alone, you can fail an assessment. And third, and lastly, they have been approved by professional bodies. So they're instruments that one can use with comfort. So just to give you a very quick recap of the tests that we have talked about in relation to job searching. There are tests that can be used for career guidance to give you guidance on your career path and career direction. These tend to target high school students, college and university students, and they can also be used by working professionals. And a very good instrument I use for that is called the career test. Then there are instruments for career management, which look at your workplace aspirations and motivations. And these ones can be used by graduates, by working professionals. The instrument I use is a professional test. Then there's the psychometric tests for career development, and that's for your own self-development. They can be used by anyone. And you have a variety of those types. So like the sales test, the leadership test. Then we have the instruments for personality assessments, which look at your behavior and thought patterns. And those again can be used by anybody. Examples of those would be the MBTI and the Big Five personality test. And then the one for interview preparation. Again, here they're open to anyone to use, and these ones you can combine both personality and aptitude tests. Okay, so that's the end of the major part of the presentation. I just want to let you know that this being October and this being my birthday month, I am giving a 10% discount to anybody who wants to purchase any of these instruments. And there are others that I didn't even mention, but I just wanted to discuss the ones that relate to job searching. And they normally range between about 12 and 20,000. But we can talk at an individual level, and you can remind me and ask me for that 10% discount. So as we come to an end, I want to conclude. There's some key takeaways that I think all of us should leave with very quickly. That it's important to make informed career choices. Ensure your ladder is leaning against the right wall. So take the trouble to find out where your interest areas are, where your talents and abilities are, so that you don't climb so far up the career ladder only to find that you've been leaning against the wrong wall. Secondly, you should appreciate that psychometric testing is an integral part of the interviewing process. And so you should familiarize yourself with these instruments through practicing. Thirdly, yes, practice answering psychometric tests, particularly the aptitude tests, so that you can enhance and increase your speed and accuracy. And then know your strengths and areas for improvement so that you can develop yourself professionally and create realistic career goals for yourself. And then very important to use instruments that are certified, again, to address for validity and reliability. And as we come to an end, I just want to share my contacts and to let you know that if you need any help with career guidance, with identifying your career path, with psychometric testing, or anything that you've heard tonight, please feel free to reach out. And these are my contacts. I'm available and willing to help. And I most sincerely thank you for your time. And that concludes our presentation tonight. So I will stop sharing so that we can engage for the few minutes that we have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Vicky. That was awesome, and I believe that each and every one of us right now from today is going to walk a career path that is lit without feeling your way through or maybe guessing your way through, because I believe now you are walking a lit path, understanding, not just understanding what your industry is looking for, but even understanding your place within a particular industry. Actually. So with the 4 minutes, exactly 4 minutes and maybe a couple of seconds that we have, I'd like us to engage in the Q&A, and I believe we have Alice. I don't know if you this clapping emoji. So if there are any questions, we'll take them in 4 minutes exactly. I'm sorry. We'll take questions if there are any in 4 minutes exactly. So you can just so we have one Patricia Correa who has just posted a question in the chat box. Does the price mentioned cater only for psychometric test, or does this include interpretation of the same with the client? I don't know, Vicky, if we can answer that here right now.
Yes, I can answer. The price indicated, yes, does cater for the psychometric assessment, and it includes interpretation of the same with the client. And actually, before COVID, I was very particular about having face-to-face interpretation sessions. I enjoyed that because I enjoyed the physical meetings. But of course, now COVID taught us that we can have interpretations done online. So when people lie in Nairobi, maybe Kiambu, which is where I'm located, we can actually schedule the physical meetings. But if you're in, Kisumu, or you prefer an online interpretation, that can be arranged too. Because one of the beauty of the psychometrics is that the test reports are in soft. So once I share that with you, then we can agree on a suitable or a mutually convenient time to review, to go through the report.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Vicky. I'm also glad to know that I just don't get results, but I get interpreted results of my psychometric analysis. Alice, thank you so much. Just an appreciating for the good presentation. It was an awesome one. Yeah, it was great. Now I think I have an understanding place. And also, if you maybe want a recap of the same, it will be posted in the JCB's YouTube channel. You can go through it, and maybe you feel like you missed a bit, or maybe you feel like you want to go through it all over again. It will be posted in the JCB's YouTube channel. You can always go back there and listen again. Madam Vicky, again, thank you so much. That was awesome psychometric analysis. It didn't even dawn on me so heavy when I was thinking about it, but the way you just brought it out, just awesome, so awesome. And if there is no any other questions, I'd just like to jump the meeting. Madam Vicky, thank you so much, and maybe wish you an early happy birthday with your birthday month. Have it major. So I just want to go ahead and call the meeting because we are at place of agreement. Once again, you can always check it out again on the YouTube, on the JCB's YouTube channel. You can always go through Madam Vicky's work again. So I just say a word of grace and officially for the glory. Thank you for the evening that you've given us. Thank you for the awesome session that we've had. Thank you for letting us in the Wiki. And each and every one of us that has taken their time in the us. Bless each and every one of them. Bless the work of their hands and bless their career journeys. As we rest to bed, I pray that you may give us sleep, that we may sleep and just pieces. Let's pray and we believe. Amen. Thank you so much.